The MCU's multiverse has officially opened, and right now the first episode of What If is streaming on Disney+, so do go watch it before this review, because this is my full spoilers review of the first episode of What If, Captain Carter. What to the Watcher takes us into a brand new timeline to relive the events of the first Avenger. But what would have happened if Peggy Carter and not Steve Rogers had taken the super soldier serum at the start of World War II? Now, before I start with my review, again a reminder that this is a full spoiler review. The first episode is on Disney+, so do go watch it. I also have a review for the first 3 episodes, spoiler free, and I'll link it right here. You can go check that out. I also want to know your thoughts on this premiere episode and your expectations for What If, so start the conversation in the comments below. It's the most important part. I cannot wait to discuss this episode with you. And if this is the first time you're clicking on one of my videos, thank you so much for clicking on it. Why don't you consider clicking the subscribe button? If you enjoy this type of content, you'll always have coverage for the What If series and anything MCU, because right now it's going wild and I really appreciate it, and it does wonders to get the content out there, and you'll also join a beautiful film fan community. Captain Carter. I've always loved Peggy Carter. She is the first lady of the MCU. She's my favorite lady in the MCU, and I'm so glad to see her taking central stage in this premiere episode. I love everything about her character in this. It's so much the same, yet things playing out differently is interesting to me. I love that Hayley Atwell is back, of course. I love her too. I don't think I would love Peggy Carter as much, if not in great part, for the performance that Hayley Atwell delivers, and she's incredible in this, even if it's just her voice. And the episode does really interesting things in the pivotal moments that we recognize from Captain America, the first Avenger. I still really like that there's a different way of how Steve and Peggy fall in love, but how it still makes sense and how you can still see them and believe that they come together. This first episode also clearly shows us that they're taking full advantage of the animation realm. The type of comedy that they inject into this story here is very suitable for animation. There are some really great moments of slapstick, those exaggerated expressions on the Nazis when they take a punch and when they're hit in the balls. Even Arnim Zola, when he sits down and sees Captain Carter taking everyone out.
Scheiße.
Exactly.
And not only is it great for Peggy Carter herself, we see Steve still playing a great part in winning this war, as well as some shine for the Howling Commandos alongside Bucky Barnes, of course. I love seeing them all work together, go into that castle for that one final mission when they thought Steve was dead, because even I thought Steve was dead. They're at that train and everything goes boom, and I'm like, oh shit, they killed Steve Rogers in this timeline. Which obviously we see that turns out they didn't do, but then again, as we come to the finale of this episode, turns out they technically did still kill Steve Rogers, but we'll get to that in a sec. One of the things I found most interesting in this episode is how the Tesseract is utilized. Through most of the episode, it's the same thing. It goes around the same hands back and forth, and our heroes have essentially the same mission they had in the Sacred Timeline in Captain America the First Avenger, but now they're opening this insane portal to somewhere, and all these tentacles come out, and Peggy Carter fighting not only with her shield, but with a sword, which is just, it's an awesome visual. Is it not? She kicks so much ass proverbially and literally throughout this episode. You cannot help but fall in love with this great lady and hopefully the leader of her own Avengers team in the rest of this timeline. But what I found most interesting about this tentacle monster that comes out of the portal is that there have been rumors that in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Shuma Gorath is the villain, and there have also been rumors that Peggy Carter might show up in that movie as this version of the character, as Captain Carter. Cannot wait to see Hayley Atwell back. I hope that is very much true, because that will be insanely awesome. But right now, when it comes to this tentacle monster, that is only speculation. I just noticed the similarities of a tentacle monster coming out of a portal from another universe. It just adds up. And I still like that, again, they kept these same essential beats for the characters and their arcs, but did them differently enough. Obviously, Peggy Carter is the one that sacrifices herself, but she doesn't die. Obviously, I know Steve Rogers didn't die, but for all intents and purposes, for all everyone knew in terms of the timeline, Steve Rogers had died. In here, they clearly don't know where she went, but I think it's very obvious that Peggy Carter didn't die for the characters in this story, and I think it's interesting that they played their cards that way. So much so that when she comes back at the end, being brought back by Nick Fury and Hawkeye, it's very similar to the moment when Loki comes to Earth in the Avengers movie, and she brings a little bit of the tentacles that she just cut off, making it seem like no time has passed for her when she was across that portal fighting that tentacle monster wherever it was. And obviously she finds out 70 years have passed, she's now in the 21st century and whatnot. So that's what I meant when technically they did kill Steve Rogers, because for all we know, Steve Rogers has grown old in this timeline and he has passed away by this point. And this ending at this interesting exchange between Nick Fury and Captain Carter, I find it very satisfying, not only because it closes out this story, we see how it changes potentially the future of this timeline, but also we can very well see a continuation of this story in future episodes of What If, be it in Season 1, be it in Season 2, maybe even Season 3, who knows. I love that these stories are not being closed out. This is very much an anthology series, and I love that about this show. All these stories are not over in just 30 minutes. Also, by the way, I love that it's 30 minutes. No bullshit, no 28, 27, and we round up to it's 30 minutes. These episodes do a really good job at telling all its stories in these 30 minutes increments that just are just very satisfying overall. This episode is a really fun time. Of the 3 that I have seen thus far, it is still my least favorite, I would say. I love this character. I was so excited to see this character. I'm so glad she was the first episode, because certain aspects and details are different in this timeline, but essentially the story plays out the way you'd expect it to play out, just with these characters changed around a bit, but essentially it's the same. I think this is the episode that took the least risks, but I also think they shouldn't have taken those risks. I think this is a very welcoming episode that doesn't go too wild and just shows the basic thing of what this show will be for the general audiences, which I think it's smart. However, I do think there are a little too many montages in this first episode. I think there are a lot of moments that are not allowed to breathe, not necessarily because it is only 30 minutes. Again, I think the 30 minutes works very well. I just think that there were too many montages in there, and we could have stretched certain scenes out, like that lovely scene between Peggy and Steve at the bar before Bucky interrupts and then apologizes and continues interrupting. Really didn't get that one. Overall, the Captain Carter episode is a ton of fun. I already like the first Avenger, so I like this version of the first Avenger as well. It brings back one of my favorite characters. It plays out in slightly different, but nevertheless interesting ways that opens up the possibilities not only for this show, but also for this one timeline on its own, and I think that's fascinating. Jeffrey Wright is not too much in the episode, but he does his job splendidly. I think his narration is a really sweet touch to this entire show. And apart from all those issues, again, I think it's really smart that they didn't go too wild in this episode, but just you wait, because in episode 2, they go bonkers wild. I'm giving What If episode 1, Captain Carter, a B. And so those are my thoughts on the premiere of What If. I want to know your thoughts. Throw them all down to the comments. Start the conversation. It's the most important part. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to see your theories for whatever is coming in episode 2. I want to hear them out, even though I won't spoil anything. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. You are the best. Stay tuned for many more reviews to come very soon. I hope to see you in those. And if this was your first video of mine that you watched and you're still watching, consider clicking that subscribe button, because if you're still watching, you enjoyed it on some level. Thank you so much once more. I can never thank you enough. And until the next one, love each other and love the movies.